Have you ever wondered why people from the 70s seem so tough? When things get uncertain, they didn't have GPS. They had a simple choice: figure it out or get lost. That environment didn't just teach them skills, it actually rewired their brains. It built resilience in a way we rarely see today. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand their superpower. Please hit like and subscribe because we are going deep. Let's break it down. The unsupervised party. Ever wonder how a whole generation survived parties with absolutely zero adult supervision? Imagine this: a living room in 1976. The air is thick with smoke and loud classic rock. There are no tracking apps like Life 360. Parents aren't texting every 10 minutes. You are walking through raw social chaos without a safety net. Psychologically, this was a masterclass in social calibration. Because there were no adults to intervene, you had to become the regulator. You had to watch everything. You learned to decode micro-expressions instantly. You looked at a guy across the room and asked, is he a friendly drunk, or is he about to throw a punch? If you missed the signs, you didn't get blocked online. You got physically hurt. This environment developed an internal alarm system, a heightened situational awareness that modern apps have turned off. Today, we rely on digital safety. Back then, you listened to the tone of voices. You watched how people shifted their weight. This wasn't neglect. It was high-stakes training. It taught you to spot danger by analyzing human behavior, not by looking for a red flag on a screen. Home Depot parenting. Here is a hard truth that modern psychology confirms, but modern parenting avoids. Overprotection breeds anxiety. In the 70s, parenting was hands-off. If you got hurt, you didn't get a 3-hour lecture on safety. You got a Band-Aid, maybe the stinging burn of iodine. And you were told to get back outside. If you broke your bike, you didn't just get a new one delivered by Amazon the next day. You sat in the garage, smelling the sawdust and grease, and you figured out how to fix it. This built what psychologists call an internal locus of control. You learned that you had the power to affect your environment. The consequences were real and immediate. Today, we shield kids from the consequences of their actions to protect their feelings. But back then, the scraped knees and the broken toys were the education. You didn't blame the system. You didn't blame the manufacturer. You took responsibility. This taught you the most valuable lesson of all, that you are competent, and you can rely on yourself to fix what is broken. Analog conflict resolution. There is a myth today that children need adults to mediate every single disagreement. The playgrounds of the 70s proved the exact opposite. Back then, conflict resolution was analog, face-to-face, and visceral. You settled fights in the dirt. You yelled. Sometimes, yes, the best, fists were thrown. But then, you cooled off, shook hands, and played again 10 minutes later. This process is critical for developing social resilience. When you crossed a line in the 70s, the peer group corrected you, but not a teacher or a distracted parent. The playground was the courtroom, and your reputation was the only currency that mattered. You learned the negotiation tactics in real time. You learned when to stand your ground and when to back down. Compare that to today. Now conflicts are passive-aggressive comments left in comment sections, or screenshots sent to group chats. There is no resolution, just lingering resentment. The 70s taught us that conflict is not the end of a relationship. It's a mechanism to test boundaries. It wasn't chaos, and it was a raw, unfiltered education in how human beings actually work. Mastering delayed gratification. You know why waiting was actually a secret weapon for your brain? Let's talk about the radio. You sat for hours, finger hovering over the record button on your cassette player. You endured songs you hated just to catch 3 minutes of your favorite track. And if the DJ spoke over the intro, you were devastated. You had to wait another hour. This forced waiting regulated your dopamine baseline. In the 70s, pleasure had a cost. It required time and attention. Because you worked for that song, the sound of the tape clicking save felt like a massive victory. The reward was high because the effort was high. Today, we have Spotify. You can access any song in history instantly. It sounds better, but it feels less significant. Why? Because it's cheap dopamine. We have trained our brains to expect instant rewards with zero effort. When we don't get it, we feel bored or anxious. The 70s taught us that the best things in life have value precisely because they aren't instant. Patience wasn't just a virtue. It was a prerequisite for joy. Cognitive effort versus digital ease. We think having Google means having wisdom. It doesn't. It means we have data. To learn back then, you wrestled with heavy encyclopedias. You smelled the old paper. You had to read whole paragraphs, scan indexes, and cross-reference pages just to find one single fact. This was cognitive effort. When your brain has to work to find information, it creates a stronger memory trace. The struggle to find the answer signals to your brain, this is important, keep it. This is the foundation of deep work. Your attention span had to be longer than a 15-second TikTok video. The library taught you focus. Today we suffer from digital amnesia. We don't remember facts because we know we can just search for them again. Our brains have become lazy processors, not storage vaults. The 70s student didn't just consume information, they hunted for it. And because they hunted, they owned the knowledge in a way we rarely do today. The void of boredom. Why do we treat boredom like a disease? In the modern world, the second we feel bored, we pull out a phone. We kill the boredom instantly. But in the 70s, boredom was where genius was born. Without a screen to scroll, you stared at the ceiling until you saw patterns. You sat in the back of a car for hours with nothing but your thoughts. Neuroscience calls this state the default mode network, DMN. It is only when your brain is not distracted that it can connect disparate ideas, solve complex problems, and foster creativity. Silence wasn't scary back then. It was a blank canvas. Because we have eliminated boredom, we have also eliminated the space for original thought. We are constantly consuming other people's ideas instead of generating our own. The boredom of the 70s forced you to look inside yourself. It helped build a real identity, not a fake one copied from the internet. It taught us that being alone with your thoughts is not a crisis. It's an opportunity. No GPS, just guts. Turn off the GPS, and you relearn how to trust your gut. Back then, driving meant wrestling with a giant folding paper map. You navigated unknown highways at 60 miles per hour based on memory and landmarks. You made decisions without a robot voice telling you where to turn. And if you got lost, you rolled down the window and asked a stranger. This built spatial cognition and cognitive mapping. Neuroscientists have found that when we rely on GPS, the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and navigation, actually shows less activity. In the 70s, you had to build a map of the world inside your head. You had to be fully present. Today, we are passive navigators. We follow instructions blindly. If the battery dies, we are helpless. But the 70s driver was an active problem solver. Getting lost wasn't a failure. It was part of the adventure. It proved that true freedom is navigating the world using your own sense of direction, not a satellite feed. The courage of face-to-face commitment. Making a phone call used to require real bravery. You called a girl's house knowing her dad might answer first. You stood in the kitchen, tethered to the wall by a curly cord, while your whole family could hear your conversation. You couldn't hide behind a text. You couldn't ghost people without serious social consequences. This forced exposure to awkwardness built social risk tolerance. You learned to manage the anxiety of real-time interaction. That loud phone ring demanded immediate attention and immediate courage. If you wanted to see someone, you went to their door and knocked. Today we use texting as a shield. We curate our responses. We avoid the vulnerability of the human voice. But that vulnerability is exactly what creates deep connection. The 70s taught us that if you want something, you have to speak up. Literally, it taught you that rejection won't kill you, but hiding will keep you lonely. No block button. When a breakup happened in the 70s, you couldn't just delete the person. You saw them at school, you saw them at the diner, you saw their car parked on Main Street, but you had to sit with the rejection. There was no digital escape hatch. Psychologically, this acted as Exposure therapy. Instead of avoiding the pain, which is what blocking does, you processed it. You felt the punch in the gut. You endured the awkward eye contact. And eventually you became desensitized to it. You learned to coexist with discomfort. Today, the block button allows us to curate a reality where nothing ever hurts us. We delete anyone who disagrees or upsets us. This makes us emotionally fragile. The 70s built a thick skin. It taught you that you can look pain in the eye, survive it, and eventually move past it without erasing history. The freedom to fail. People tell you to record everything, but not having a record was actually freedom. In the 70s, you could wear terrible clothes, get a bad haircut, or do stupid things at a party, and it didn't become a permanent post on the internet. Your worst moments were just stories among friends. They faded away. We now live in a digital panopticon, the feeling that we are constantly being watched. This kills risk-taking. In the 70s, the right to be forgotten let you reinvent yourself. If you messed up on Tuesday, you could start fresh on Wednesday. Your identity wasn't frozen in a bad photo forever. This allowed for genuine experimentation. You could try different personalities, different hobbies, and fail miserably without the whole world judging you. Today, fear of a viral fail keeps everyone acting the same. The 70s gave you the privacy to grow. Survival jobs. Working for survival teaches you something an internship never will. You didn't work for exposure or networking. You delivered papers at 5 a.m. in the freezing rain. You washed dishes to buy a bike. The boss didn't care about your potential. They cared if the job was done. This instilled grit, the ability to persevere through uncomfortable tasks for a goal. It also taught tangible competence. You saw the immediate result of your labor. A clean floor, a delivered paper, money in your hand. This stripped away entitlement. It taught you that output is the only thing that matters. Dirty hands were a badge of honor, not a sign of failure. It taught you that nothing is given, everything is earned. It grounded you in the physical reality of work, preventing the existential crisis so many office workers feel today. Unshakable sense of self. Why do we need strangers to like us online to feel good? Back then, we were enough for ourselves. Your self-esteem wasn't based on views, likes, or shares. It was built on real skills and real reputation in your neighborhood. You knew you were funny because friends laughed right in front of you, not because of a haha emoji. This created intrinsic validation. Your worth was a fortress built from the inside out. If you achieved something, you felt it. You didn't need to post it to verify it happened. Today, we rely on extrinsic validation. We outsource our self-worth to an algorithm. If a post flops, we feel worthless. But the 70s mindset was armor. Online criticism couldn't touch you because you knew who you were without a bio. That is true confidence. That is an unshakable self. Growing up in the 70s gave you more than just freedom. It wired your brain to survive without an audience. It taught you to embrace boredom, to navigate chaos, and to find comfort in your own skin. That resilience is a gift. But here's the catch. We can't go back. The 70s are gone. However, we can reclaim the mindset. You can choose to turn off the GPS. You can choose to leave the phone at home. You can choose to let your kids scrape their knees. But listen closely. Relying only on that old mindset can create a blind spot today. The world shifted gears rapidly. If the 70s was the era of raw reality, the next decade was the bridge that changed everything. Discover exactly how the digital transition began to rewire the human mind. In our next video, about the unique psychology of the 90s generation. You don't want to miss that analysis. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you there.